Alright, so you all know how big of fans of Cobra Kai I am. And so I had to go check out Karate Kid Legends. And I gotta say that this movie is really interesting. I'm gonna save a lot of thoughts for the end, but this is a very intriguing movie because there are technically two movies in this one movie. And it's only 2 hours long. And that's what makes it really interesting. But I really enjoyed the first half of the movie because it is a very cool twist on the Karate Kid formula. And then the second half of the movie is very basic Karate Kid stuff. And the first half is way more interesting than the second half. I think the second half just gets a little too generic for my taste. But the first half is really a really cool twist on it all. And I'm not going to get into too many specifics right now, but I'm going to get that into the spoiler section. But overall, the story is a mixed bag because the first half I really enjoyed. The second half, it was just like, okay. So I'm going to give it a slight hand grenade score just because that first half was really cool. It was a really cool take on Karate Kid. The cinematics and visuals of it all, the cinematic experience of it all, I think is actually pretty cool. They do some really cool animations to show like the fight sequences, but not all of them, just like the main one at the end of the movie. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so, again, leaning slightly towards a hand grenade movie here as well. Directing, I thought this movie was pretty well paced up until the movie just sort of changes subject halfway through. And because of that, I'm going to give it a Hot Pocket score. Because like I said, this is two movies in one. And I'll get more into it in my expectations and experience. The acting, I thought the whole cast actually did a really good job. I just don't think that a lot of them had enough to do, mainly in Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. Those two do not have as much screen time as the trailers suggest, and we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Hand Grenade here because it is very explosive and dynamic and interesting, but like still slightly underwhelming. This movie's just a little underwhelming. But yeah, slight Hand Grenade. But now, you know what? I just need to talk spoilers to talk about what I really liked and what I didn't like about this movie. And like I said earlier in the story, that the first half of this movie is a really cool take on the Karate Kid and like flipping it on its head, where instead of the kid is found by like in the streets by a martial arts master, it's the adult found on the streets by a young kid martial arts master. And I really enjoyed that little twist, and that's what makes the first half of this movie actually really interesting, because I would have rather have seen that movie instead of the one that they gave us, all this fan service that they gave us in the second half, because it doesn't really work. It feels very misplaced. The whole time as I was watching the trailers for this movie and speculating, I'm like, this is technically following Cobra Kai, which means I think the best way to connect LaRusso and making his motivations to go to New York to train this kid would have been by having him in the bar with Johnny Lawrence, and Johnny literally talks him into going over a beer or something. And unfortunately we didn't get that scene, but major spoilers for literally the best scene in the movie, in my opinion and my friend's opinion. William Zabka returns as Johnny Lawrence at the end, and me and him, we're celebrating. It was so funny and so unexpected. We were very happy that it happened. And it honestly bumped the experience of the movie for both of us. Both of us liked it a lot more after we saw him show up, because we were both very big fans of Cobra Kai. And that's the main issue with this show, or with this movie, sorry. It's just that if Cobra Kai hadn't existed, I think we would be more accepting of it. But Cobra Kai gave us such great storylines involving Daniel, and like always willing to help, that it doesn't really fully make sense why he was even hesitant in the first place. And I do think that the real thing, if they wanted to show that in the movie and make him hesitant, is like, oh, I don't know if I should travel to New York. I have my responsibilities here. And Johnny talking him into it and going, hey, I got you covered. I'll take care of the students while you're away, even more so than I'm already doing. And I think that's what was missing from the movie to really connect those two. Also, just the fact that I think Daniel and Mr. Han, LaRusso and Han needed to be more in this movie. They were not relevant at all, and then when LaRusso shows up, it feels kind of shoehorned in, and it's really infuriating. Especially as a Cobra Kai fan, where LaRusso was very like naturally introduced, and it made sense in that story. In this one, it doesn't really make sense. He doesn't need to show up, and like we just saw 6 seasons of Cobra Kai, and we were like, oh, this is LaRusso, and we saw him grow there, and I don't know, it was just missing. It's just a shame, yeah, but it was pretty solid performance, at least, not what he actually did in the story. It was just very out of place and kind of random. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna say that this is a Hot Pocket movie. This is a movie you turn on in the background, just have some background noise. It's got some interesting moments, and it's got some pretty good comedic beats, but like, if I want to watch some karate project with Ralph Macchio, I'll watch Cobra Kai any day of the week over this, especially since that final fight was nowhere near as epic as literally the Cobra Kai final fight that we got earlier this year. So yeah, it was just a poor victim of circumstance. But that's pretty much all I have to say. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on Karate Kid Legends if you've seen it, or now you're planning on seeing it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and other than that, I'll leave you guys to it.